here and support them.
Let's say it again.
Let's start this meeting. This meeting and all of the meetings of this board are open to the public. Proper notices have been posted, given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, so that citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Please note the following information. This meeting will be broadcasted for remote access on live stream on YouTube, and then now the sheet has been handed in. Review. We need to review and approve the agenda. Do you hear a motion to accept the agenda as written?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Do you hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All disapprove. We need to review and approve the minutes from July 24th, 2025.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those that disapprove say no. The board meeting and the public hearing considered today, Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025, are open to the public, which means that anyone present may speak, provided they stand up, identify themselves, and fill out the public appearance sheet, which is located in a box near the entrance door. Anyone attending via the phone or Zoom meeting may speak, providing they identify themselves by name and address before doing so. We are recording these proceedings, so it is important that you state your name and address before addressing the board. The following hearing has been published in Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 of Wisconsin statutes, and it will be heard by the board. Bradley W. Kimberlin, is that right?
Yes.
On. Local Trust in the Assembly of God, Wisconsin, North Michigan District, Jason and Teresa Road. Is that right?
Yep.
Mhm. Within 30 days of the close of this hearing, copies of this decision will be delivered to the appropriate appellate or applicant. So this, we'll call this first public hearing in order. The purpose of this hearing is to take testimony regarding the application of Bradley Kimberlin A. Wahan, local trust located on the northwest corner of the southwest quarter, section 16, and the southeast quarter of the southeast, northeast corner of the southeast corner, section 17, lying along West Stratton Road, fire number N1412 North Town of Dayton, Becker County, Wisconsin, parcel 317.54.2. For the granting of variance for proposed addition equals the existing porch within the shoreline setback on the rural residential district on the appropriate 1/3 0.35 acres of land. The secretary, please name the person notified of the hearing.
Jeff Barlow, Town Chair. Brett Grams, Town Supervisor. Susan Popham, Town Supervisor. Wanda Hilton, Town Clerk. Department of Natural Resources, Susan Van Langenberg. Department of Natural Resources, Sarah Rafajko. Kim Hahn, applicant. Bradley W. and Kimberlin L. Hahn, Revocable Trust owners. Wapaka County Corporation Council. Dennis M. and Sally C. Hurdle Living Trust. Glenn Living Trust. Kristen A. Poplowski Living Trust. Make Good Choices LLC. Town of Dayton. Walter F. and Patricia A. Knutson Family Trust. Brandon W. Flater, Daniel E. Pugins, Douglas D. Halls and Juanita J. Halls, Eric C. and Megan M. Tho, Garrett E. and Laura E. Colbert, Holly A. DeBoer, Jeffrey A. and Yvonne Becker, Jesse P. Cuff et al., Thomas R. and Jane M. Riley, and Thomas Riley and Jane Hitty.
Does anyone know of anybody's name within 300 feet of this property that has not been notified? Not, Secretary?
If the variance is approved, any privilege must be exercised within 6 months of the date of this decision by obtaining the necessary building, zoning, and other permits for the proposed construction. This construction must be completed within 2 years of the date of issuance of the permit.
Still you.
Go on?
It's
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, it wasn't highlighted. The County Board of Adjustment is an appellate board required by state law in any county or municipality which has adopted a zoning ordinance. The board is a quasi-judicial body whose purpose is to give a full and fair hearing to any person whose property interests are directly or adversely affected by the provisions of the zoning ordinance or an interpretation of the ordinance by the local administrative officials. The board does not have authority to amend or repeal any provision of the zoning ordinance. Its sole authority is to interpret the ordinance and apply its provisions to the factual evidence presented. The board is interested in hearing all pertinent evidence. Witnesses in favor of the application will be called first, those opposed second, and persons in interest last. After each witness has testified, he or she may be questioned by the board, the applicant, or the attorney for the applicant, and any other party or the attorney for any other party to the hearing. Persons present who are not appearing as witnesses will be allowed to propose relevant questions which the board may pose to a witness. However, the chair reserves the right to rule on relevancy, and no member of the audience will be allowed to give testimony unless they are acknowledged by the chair and may testify in the manner required of other witnesses. Because a record of this hearing is being tape recorded, it is imperative that each witness or speaker identify himself or herself and his or her interest in the subject matter of this hearing. Before speaking, and speak in the direction of the tape recorder on the presentation table. The chair may impose a time limit on the presentations. However, he does request that you avoid repetition and limit your remarks to the subject matter being considered. There is no benefit from hearing statements that repeat statements which have already been expressed or that relate to matters other than the case before the board. Personal attacks or abusive, belligerent, badgering, or indecorous testimony and gross hearsay, rumor, or gossip will be ruled out of order by the chair, subject to immediate appeal to the majority vote of the board.
Board has conducted an on-site inspection of the property. The board will now hear the applicant, Bradley W. and Kimberlin A. Hahn, Revocable Trust. The applicant and their adjutant please come forward to be sworn in to testify.
May I sit or should I stand?
You want to raise your right hand first?
Yes, I do.
Swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
Have a seat.
And may I ask who is the board chair? I'm
Right
supposed to, okay.
Say, what is the nature of your request?
I had called Candace for a building permit because my porch that's on the home needed to be repaired. And we were gonna add some enclosed porch stuff. And she's like, oh, you can't. I'm like, what? And so then when I learned about what the Stratton Lake statutes, I might not know all the proper words. So then I learned what to do if I'm asking for a variance, which I'm assuming is like, I'm not asking for anything to be changed, just an exception to our particular situation. And may I go ahead and read the letter to you? Is that what?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Dear members of the Wapaka County Board of Adjustment, I respectfully request a variance to Shoreline Protection Ordinance, Section 6.1, to allow for the partial enclosure of an existing legally constructed but not conforming porch to residential living space. This request is made with my sincerest respect for the regulations in place and with the hopes that the unique characteristics and circumstances surrounding my parcel can be taken into thoughtful consideration. Our feeling is that strict application of the ordinance prevents my family from using our property in a reasonable manner, especially since we are not requiring additional space outside the envelope. We are also requesting an exception in the function of the already grandfathered space. Okay, my husband Brad and I purchased this property back in December 2003, looking forward to enjoying the empty nester chapter of our lives together. But as life often does, things change in unexpected ways. After Brad's sudden and unexpected passing in 2014, our cottage on Stratton Lake took on even a deeper meaning. It became the healing heart of our family gatherings. Today, our family has grown to include 6 adult kids and 7 quickly growing grandchildren, very quickly. The recent need to rebuild the porch for safety reasons has offered a unique opportunity, not just to restore, but to thoughtfully improve it by creating a modest 188 square foot living area within an existing structure. We hope to provide just a bit more space to accommodate our expanding family. This small addition would make a meaningful difference, allowing us to continue gathering safely and comfortably while deepening our shared connection to the peaceful beauty of Stratton Lake. The porch in question is a cherished and essential part of our home, originally built in full compliance with the regulations in place at that time. So the hardship I'm presenting is not self-created, but it stems from the parcel's unique physical characteristics. Namely, that the cottage is legally non-conforming and does not meet the current 75-foot setback from the ordinary high water mark of navigable waters. I don't know what I just said, but I copied that. I am therefore respectfully requesting a variance, enabling our project to serve as a safe, modest, year-round living space that continues to provide comfort and connection for our growing family. Our proposed addition of the year-round living space would not compromise the intent of the ordinance, which I learned is to protect water quality, to preserve fish and wildlife habitat, prevent erosion, and maintain the area's natural scenic beauty. Nor would it negatively impact the public interest or alter the essential character of our neighborhood. This granted variance would, however, better accommodate our family gatherings and would allow us to enjoy the property in a way that honors my husband's memory and respects the environmental integrity of Stratton Lake. So I thank you for considering this request with compassion and fairness. I truly understand and respect the importance of Waupaca County's zoning regulations, especially as they pertain to protecting the natural beauty, environmental health of our lakes in all of Wisconsin. But this granted variance would provide our family with the privilege of lakefront ownership. It would uphold environmental stewardship, and it would continue to reflect the purpose of appreciating and respecting Stratton Lake. Furthermore, it would maintain the spirit and intent of the Waupaca County zoning ordinances. Your support would mean a great deal to the Hahn family for generations to come. And then I also found out one of the neighbors, I didn't even ask her to, but she texted me and she wrote something. I don't know if you'd be interested in it's a neighbor directly. If you're looking at the lake, Yvonne and Jeff live to our right.
We can check to see. We did receive
I do have a letter from them that I'll read in.
Okay. Oh, you'll do the reading? Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Are there any questions from the board?
Can you just describe exactly what this construction will be?
Sean Seeger is the builder I'm working with, and I can start tomorrow as far as being within 6 months. So everything's got to be fixed because my accountant husband was the one that helped it a few years ago. He's good at accounting, but this needs to be repaired. So Sean's going to do all the proper repairs. But then if you're walking from the right to come up to the cottage, all that will remain the same. When you turn left, I'd like to put in a full-blown patio door and then windows that would I think we're going to have a little bit for electricity here. Windows, and I don't have my measurements in front of me because I live in a Commonwealth and I left my full door at home. And then partially, so that there'd still be exposed porch, another patio door. So, and then I would also be taking out the picture window. The home it's a cute little home, but whoever built it was not to celebrate the lake at all. There is a picture window, but the only place you can put a couch is in front of the window. So like when you walk in, well, okay, yeah, there's a picture. So where the railings would be, on the far right, that railing would stay. And I believe the second one would stay. And then those other ones would still just be, there'd be no railings. They'd be floor to ceiling, except for that little knee wall. And, okay, but from the inside, what it would do is I'd have French doors that open in, so it's a little more living space, but what it really does is provide our family more dining space, because you get 15 people around my little, so just kind of, so it provides no more sleeping space other than, cots and everything all over the floor. If you were a drone looking down, you would not notice anything different because it's not going outside the envelope whatsoever. It seems to me has anybody built lately? It's a lot of money. So to restore and make this safe, it's gonna be a lot of money. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? And I just did not realize that there was rules about imposing it. I just think it'd be a wonderful opportunity. In my opinion, it's not going to affect the lake whatsoever. It's not going to affect the neighbors. All it's doing is for the rest of this world, that cute little cottage now has a little bit, did I say how many square feet? And I'm willing to pay taxes on that. That'd be an opportunity as well. I mean, if they say you're changing the living space function. Originally when I had called Candace, I was just gonna put in like, these rubber windows that are kind of neat, but that you can lift them up so there's air. Because right now, I mean, we love it out there, but there's mosquitoes, and if it's too chilly, there's, it's just, it just seems it's a lake property, and this, if you guys were to grant the variance, it would just help us celebrate Stratton. I mean, in the morning, I'd be out there having my coffee where you see the lake. Now, I don't know, the house just was not built to celebrate the lake. This was just.
Is this addition an extension of like a covered porch? Or is this now gonna become part of the living space of the home? And so it's not 3 seasons, but it's a full 4-season part of the house.
Initially, it was just gonna be a 3-season, but I thought if I'm going through the variance and I'm asking you to make an exception, I'm like, oh no, let's go ahead and make it all the time. Yes, it would still pretty much look the same as a 3-season, but I'll have quality windows in there. And I was still gonna go with quality patio doors anyway, just because with 7 kids going in and out, I figured you gotta put the right patio door in. I don't know if that answered, but yeah, I would love it if we could have it now be part of the home. But again, it's not adding it's not adding into, it's not even adding an inch. If anything, it's gonna come in an inch, but.
The wall of the existing house though will still be there, just a door.
Yes, except I'm gonna change it from the picture window to.
Door. Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be coming in.
Yeah.
And then there's also a door that would be removed. So technically there is a door now that comes out to the porch. The door and the picture window would be removed, and then there would be one very pretty French door.
Any other questions? I think you answered the necessary hardship and unique fiscal conditions and harms of public interest in your letter.
Yeah, her
I
letter
believe,
is the answer.
Is there any further testimony in favor of the applicant? I gotta ask this 3 times.
I believe she's going to read it from Yvonne. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you meant like,
Is there any further testimony in favor of the applicant? Is there any further testimony in favor of the applicant? If none, is there any testimony in opposition to the applicant? Is there any testimony in opposition to the applicant? Is there any testimony in opposition to the application? Is there any additional testimony regarding this applicant? Is there any additional testimony regarding this applicant? Is there any additional testimony regarding this applicant? Are there any letters?
Yes. I do have 2 letters. The first, as you had mentioned, was submitted by Jeff and Yvonne Becker. It states to Board of Adjustment of Wapaka County regarding the variance for Bradley W. and Kimberlyn L. Hahn Revocable Trust, Northwest Quarter of the Southwest Quarter of Section 16 and the Northeast Quarter of the Southeast Quarter of Section 17, fire number N 1412 West Stratton Road, Town of Dayton, Wapaka County, parcel number 03-17-54-2. We believe that this variance should be granted based on the following. Because the footprint of the building is not changing, this also means that the current permeable space on the property is being maintained, thereby protecting the delicate ecosystem of Stratton Lake. We have known the Hahn family for many years and have watched as the core family of 5 has grown to 14 to include spouses and grandchildren. As neighbors, for years we have watched the Hahn family enjoy multiple activities on Stratton Lake: boating, tubing, swimming, campfires, and simply having fun being together. In our current society, in which we are overburdened with devices and social media, and where family time takes a backseat to screen time, having a place to be able to gather the entire family together to put aside devices and embrace the outdoors and lake life is even more important now. In the current state of the Hahn home, there is not enough indoor living space to accommodate the now family of 14, so this becomes a hardship that all of the Hahn family cannot enjoy time together on Stratton Lake. Experts continually encourage limiting screen time and also encourage active family activities. As board members, I would hope that you uphold your responsibility in ensuring our community members are able to continue to enjoy time on our lake properties with their families. The enclosed area will not only add an aesthetically pleasing touch to an already cozy lake house, but will provide additional indoor living space to accommodate this growing family. Jeff and Yvonne Becker fully support this project and urge the Board of Adjustment of Waupaca County to grant Bradley W. and Kimberlyn L. Hahn Revocable Trust the variance discussed on Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Sincerely, Jeff and Yvonne Becker, N6099 County Road P, Helenville, Wisconsin, 53137, Lake Home address N1410 West Stratton Road, Waupaca, Wisconsin, 54981. The second letter that I have is from Sue Van Langenberg, who is the Shoreline Zoning Program Coordinator with the Department of Natural Resources. It states, "Dear board members, the Department of Natural Resources has received the notice for a September 23rd, 2025 public hearing concerning the variance request submitted by Bradley W. and Kimberlyn L. Hahn Revocable Trust. The request is for a proposed addition and close existing porch within the shoreline setback in the rural residential district on approximately 1/3 of an acre, located in the northwest quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 16 and the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 17, lying along West Stratton Road, fire number N1412, Town of Dayton, Waupaca County, Wisconsin, parcel number 03-1754-2. The department is writing in response to the County Board of Adjustment's request for an opinion from the department per Chapter 59.692, Parent 4, Parent B, Wisconsin statutes as allowed by law. This letter is based on the information provided in the hearing notice and the application submitted. Please have this letter delivered to and read before the Board of Adjustment. Per the information provided by the applicant and the county, the department does not believe the applicant can demonstrate meeting the 3 statutory criteria for granting a variance. The Snyder versus Waukesha County Zoning Board of Adjustment decision made it clear a circumstance or desire of the applicant is not a factor to be considered when deciding variances. Further, the State versus Winnebago County decision established that economic loss or financial hardship does not justify a variance. As the board reviews these variance requests, please keep in mind that the applicant has the burden of proving that their request meets all the statutory requirements for the granting of a variance for each variance request. That is, the applicant must prove that they will suffer unnecessary hardship if the provisions of the county zoning ordinance are literally enforced. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has made it clear that proof of unnecessary hardship by itself does not entitle an applicant to a variance. All 3 statutory variance criteria must be satisfied in order to grant a variance. It may be possible that the applicant will provide additional evidence at the hearing which may change the conclusions listed below. Unique physical limitations. The applicant must demonstrate that unique physical limitations, wetlands, steep slopes, streams, rock outcroppings, or special conditions of the property exist that prevent compliance with the ordinance regulations. The physical limitations must be unique to the property in question and not generally shared by other properties in the area. The adjacent lots appear very similar in size and slope to the applicant's lot. When determining if compliance is prevented, the whole parcel must be considered. There is a compliant location on the west side of the residence where an addition could be constructed without a variance. No harm to public interest. The applicant must demonstrate that variance will not result in harm or be contrary to public interest. The board must consider the impacts of the proposed project as well as the cumulative impacts of similar projects on the interests of the neighbors, the community, and the general public. These interests are listed in the purpose statement of the ordinance and for shoreline zoning include protection of public health, safety and welfare, maintenance of clean water, protection of fish and wildlife habitat, and preservation of natural scenic beauty. Scientific studies have shown when projects are constructed within the water setback, there can be environmental concerns such as a change in fish species from game fish to rough fish, loss of wildlife habitat, more runoff entering the lake without filtering, loss of natural scenic beauty, etc. Cumulative impacts of repeated projects so close to the water bodies can multiply the impacts of the loss of habitat. Unnecessary hardship. The applicant must demonstrate that if the variance is not granted, an unnecessary hardship exists. The applicant may not claim unnecessary hardship because of conditions which are self-imposed or created by a prior owner. For example, building a home in compliance and then subsequently constructing a deck without a permit. Courts have determined that economic or financial hardship does not justify a variance. When determining whether unnecessary hardship exists, the board must consider the property as a whole rather than just a portion of the parcel. The property contains a detached garage and what appears to be over 900 square feet on the main floor of the residence, and the walkout basement appears to be larger than the main floor. In addition, the applicant could construct an addition of the west side of the residence in compliance with all setbacks. Unnecessary hardship exists only if the property owner shows that they would have no reasonable use of the property without a variance. If the property currently supports a reasonable use, the hardship test is not met and the variance may not be granted. Please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning regulations only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, floodplain zoning, or other department regulations. It is the responsibility of the Board of Adjustment to assure that the statutory standards for the granting of a variance are met. The standards help to ensure protection of the public interest, including the preservation of water quality and fish and wildlife habitat along lakes and rivers. Wisconsin's navigable waterways are held in trust for all people to enjoy. The shoreline setback is important to protect the water quality, natural scenic beauty, and the fish and wildlife habitat of Wisconsin waterways. The department appreciates your commitment to Waupaca County's water resources and protection of public interest for future generations. Sincerely, Sue Vanden Langenberg, Shoreline Zoning Program Coordinator.
Are they other letters? Is that it?
That's it.
Staff report?
Yes, well, and I'm gonna apologize for a lot of the redundancy because Sue covers a lot of the same kind of materials that I'm gonna cover in my staff report, but we'll get to some of the basics here. As we've heard that the variance is for an enclosure or conversion of a porch to living space within the shoreline setback area. The property is zoned rural residential and has a residential use. Surrounding properties are also zoned rural residential around Stratton Lake and the adjacent subdivisions, those also being in residential use. The parcel is just over 15,000 square feet or 0.35 acres in size. My next bit is gonna be a little contrary to what we heard Mrs. Hahn referring to, and for that I'll offer an explanation. When part of the original process is speaking to an applicant about the request, we obviously know that the request can occur because of its proximity to the lake. Rebecca Fields, I believe she was the one who had written up the original denial to the original request. A variance process starts by them submitting a land use permit. We deny that land use permit with the explanation as to why it can't be issued, and then that kind of kickstarts the variance process. There was the notation about the house being considered a legal non-conforming structure. According to county records, the home was originally permitted in 1974. That site plan did show that it was supposed to meet the 75-foot setback from the water. The current home with the porch, as we know, is only 57.5 feet from the ordinary high water mark. We don't have any documentation to suggest why it doesn't meet that shoreline setback. I did take a look at some older aerial photos to try to see if there was a difference in maybe a major change along the shoreline. Sometimes it can be a matter of measuring from or not measuring from a boat slip or something like that. I couldn't really find an explanation for it. Ultimately, what that means here is that my staff report is going to refer to it as an illegal non-conforming structure. However, because it's been in place for greater than 10 years, the statute of limitations for enforcement has passed. Taking that further, it doesn't really make much of a difference as far as the request today, whether we consider it a legal non-conforming structure or an illegal non-conforming structure. The same general rules as far as the expansion apply. So there's just very minor differences between what you can do and can't do between a legal and an illegal non-conforming structure. Not something that the board needs to concern themselves with, but because my staff report technically, I looked into it a little bit further as far as the original house's placement as compared to the conversations that we've had with the applicant before and the denial letter that we had with that application. So again, doesn't really change the reason for the request, the need for the request, or what options are really available moving forward, but I needed to clarify that. So as a violating structure that was in place for greater than 10 years, the dwelling can be maintained, repaired, replaced, restored, rebuilt, or remodeled within the existing three-dimensional building envelope. This allowance cannot, however, result in a change of function, purpose, or use of the structure. For example, a deck or a patio may be replaced with a deck or a patio. We view those as being similar structures. However, the deck or patio may not be covered or enclosed because that would change the function, purpose, and use of that structure. So similarly, the porch in question here is considered an accessory part of the dwelling and therefore cannot be converted into living space without meeting the 75-foot shoreline setback, unless, of course, a variance is granted, which is why we're here today. We've got a couple of applicable sections to our ordinance. Chapter 32 is our shoreline protection ordinance. Section 6.1 is the section that dictates that for the most part, except those exempted, have to meet a 75-foot shoreline setback. Section 14.2 refers to the maintenance, repair, replacement, etc. of the violating structures, and that's where it goes into the special allowances for those. Again, they can be maintained, repaired, replaced, rebuilt, and remodeled. It does specify that as long as it doesn't expand the three-dimensional building envelope, further specifies that it can't change the form, function, and use. So again, that's the reason for the variance, because we're proposing to change the form, function, and use of the porch into the living space. Section 14.4, parent 3, parent C, that is where the Board of Adjustment gets its review. That's technically noted in our general zoning ordinance, just referenced. Bless you. For the most part, this is where the three criteria are specified. There's a few other dabblings in there, but the three criteria are really the meat and potatoes of the variance request. So I'll go through those now without trying to be too redundant with what Sue had already kind of mentioned. Our first main criteria is the unnecessary hardship. So for area variances, compliance with the standards would unreasonably prevent the landowner from using the property for a permitted purpose or be unnecessarily burdensome. Economic or financial hardship is not justification for granting the variance either. The applicant had stated in part that our feeling is that strict application of the ordinance prevents my family from using our property in a reasonable manner, especially since we are not requiring additional space outside the envelope. The hardship I am presenting is not self-created, but stems from the parcel's unique physical characteristics, namely that the cottage is legally non-conforming and does not meet the 75-foot setback from the ordinary high water mark or navigable waters. Staff's comments are that a sizable dwelling and detached garage already exist on the property. Complying with the shoreline setback does not unreasonably prevent the property owner from continuing to use the property for a permitted purpose. In addition, the shoreline setback should not be considered unnecessarily burdensome, as there is room to expand the dwelling while complying with the shoreline setback on the road side of the structure. Second criteria is unique property limitations, where we're looking at things like steep slope, wetlands, shape or size of the parcel, preventing compliance with the ordinance. Circumstances of the individual is also not justification under this criteria. So the applicant states that the parcel's unique physical characteristics, namely the cottage is legal non-conforming and does not meet the current 75-foot setback from the ordinary high water mark. Again, ignoring the legal, illegal, non-conforming doesn't really matter. Ultimately, what we've got to comment on is that the applicant notes that the property is unique due to the dwelling being constructed compliantly but no longer meeting the required setbacks. This speaks of the uniqueness of the structure, but not the uniqueness of the property necessarily. The lot is very common in size, shape, and slope as others on Stratton Lake. The applicant notes that the need for the variance is to accommodate an expanding family. This is a circumstance of the individual, which is not justification for granting the variance. The structure can be expanded in other areas while meeting the shoreline setback area. The third criteria is no harm to public interest. So we're looking at the ordinance's purpose and intent for guidance. We're also looking at not just short-term, long-term, but also cumulative impacts on the neighborhood, community, and general public. So obviously we have just one request in front of you today, but we've got a set of rules for a reason, and the purpose and intent of those rules, the cumulative impact should certainly be thought of as well. The applicant states that our proposed addition for a year-round living space would not compromise the intent of the ordinance, which is to protect water quality, preserve fish and wildlife habitat, prevent erosion, and maintain the area's natural scenic beauty. Nor would it negatively impact the public interest or alter the essential character of our neighborhood. The applicant states that the granting of the variance wouldn't compromise the intent of the ordinance, or that it would not negatively impact the public interest, but doesn't really indicate how. The shoreline setback standard is in place to achieve the purpose and intent of the shoreline protection ordinance by many means, including controlling building sites and the placement of structures and preventing shoreline encroachment of structures. Converting the accessory structure space to a part of the principal structure is contrary to the purposes and intent of the ordinance. In addition, alternative designs and locations on the property for expansion should be investigated prior to determining if the request meets this criteria. There is room on the property to expand while meeting the required shoreline setback. Therefore, this criteria is not met. Ultimately, harm to the public interest exists in that a granted variance would result in an undermining of the purposes of the ordinance by reducing dimensional standards intended to support the purpose of the ordinance without all variance criteria being met. So it is staff's recommendation for denial, as all three of the criteria are not met. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I'm just a civilian, so just to understand, like, when I'm thinking, like, if my home was back behind 75 feet, then I could do it. So that's what I was saying, is like, that's why, to me, it's a hardship. So, I mean, again, I might be in a civilian misunderstanding. Also, yes, we can put an addition towards the road, but again, I didn't probably put our point is to enjoy the lake. Then we just have a regular home in any place. So this is, that's what would make it different, is we want to enjoy the beautiful Stratton Lake in the sun and watching all the shenanigans and all that stuff. And then the other thing is like, well, if you can't grant a variance because that would affect anybody else, whoever wants to ask for an exception, well, then I don't understand why there would be a variance. But again, that's just a civilian asking a question. And then I also was, because I had gone around, I mean, I was taking pictures of all these other lake homes, some old and rickety that have screened-in porches, and some new ones that have screened-in porches. But Becca said, no, you can't compare your property to anything else. And I thought, okay, that's fine. But now I feel like they're kind of comparing our property to everybody else. So that'd be my only thing, is like, well, oh, if you can't ever grant a variance, then why do you offer the opportunity to grant a variance? But again, I might not be using my right words. So yeah, the beauty of the lake, I really don't think it's affecting the lake at all because of impervious and all that. But I'm probably now being redundant, but just explaining that and talking about the beauty of the lake. I'm asking for an exception, not to change the rules, because I'm sure the rules are there for a reason. I'm just thinking an exception. I don't understand how us putting a sunroom, 4-season sunroom. Okay, I'm done, but okay. Thank you for your time.
Are there any questions from the board?
You said that that they could go towards their garage and
Yeah.
that way. Did you answer the question whether they could go up if that was ever a?
Sure, yes, and in my
Process.
staff report, I had referred to the structure being able to be maintained, repaired, replaced, restored. The vertical expansion option that is applicable to some is not in this particular case within the 75-foot shoreline setback. But when it comes to this porch, that's kind of a moot point.
Right.
But as far as looking at other options, right?
just-
So vertical expansion isn't on the table in this particular instance until we meet that 75-foot setback.
I don't know if this is the time, but like if we ever were to put an addition on the house that you can't see the lake, if I stay within 35 feet from the ground, could I build up over the roof so at least a bedroom celebrates the lake?
Very well could. 35 feet is our maximum building height, but we measure that from the lowest adjacent grade, so at your walkout, to the overall peak of the roof. Depending on how tall your walls are, we do see folks who will get 3 stories. But you have to be very careful with the roof pitch and then wall height. Lots of folks are trying to go with 9-foot tall walls on each floor. That doesn't give you much for a roof pitch.
I mean, so again, a master bedroom,
Right.
so, and I'm single, so it's not like I'm on that often anyway, but, no, I guess again, it's to celebrate Stratton. I don't know if you drove out there.
Yeah.
It's beautiful little lake. It's just beautiful. It'd just be nice to have morning coffee, and I've got 3 daughters, so maybe a little evening wine and being able to see the lake. So it's just, so it's not for financial reasons, it's aesthetic, I guess. But, okay,
So she can change the wall she has now by putting more glass in that.
Correct, yes, so the existing wall that encloses the living space, that certainly could be modified.
but I still have to have somewhere for everybody to sit. So if we can't sit outside in the winter, I'm gonna have to keep the sofa in front of the picture window. It's very 70s. Nothing wrong with the 70s, they were great. But thank you for asking that.
Are there any other questions? If not, now the board will now deliberate, decide the case without any further testimony or comment.
Do I find out today?
Yeah. So we don't have any more questions for her, right? So we're done.
I would like to, if you don't mind, Art, note that we've got a couple of new folks here who are seeing this for the first time. I know that, Evan, you sat in on one of our meetings. If you go to your binder, the last part of this section, there is a decision-making worksheet. And largely it goes through those, yep, our. Yeah, very good. So we've attempted to make this to assist the board in making their decision. It's got the 3 main criteria on there for the decisions. The first one, the unnecessary hardship one, is a little goofy in that there are technically 2 different routes that we can go. So I've got option A and I've got option B. We are either looking at the ordinance provisions being unreasonably preventing the owner from using the property for a permitted purpose, or option B refers to the unnecessarily burdensome. And so I know in a lot of the trainings and the information that we've sent you, those kind of phrases get used quite a bit. In this case, you only need to do one of them, option A or B, but you can do both in order to make a stronger decision. But just kind of give you that heads up. The other 2 criteria are a little more straightforward in that you basically have 2 options, either something that is going to go towards approval or something towards denial.
Any questions?
Thanks, Art. Sorry.
Any questions? So let's take each one has its own. You have a preference to 1 or 2?
A or B, are you asking about, or?
A or B?
I'd say A is most applicable to this situation. Motion A. Are you looking for a motion or are you looking for discussion?
For discussion right now.
I think A would cover it also.
Anybody else got any opinions?
Does allow them to use the property as it is. And that's what it was designed for initially.
So they're allowed to use the property, what's it designed for? That's what you're saying,
Yes.
which would be denial. Denial of the variance.
I would say that,
Are you making a motion?
no, I'm not making them.
Oh,
I'm just thinking about this one yet.
In this case, there is nothing that would prevent them in kind for taking the existing structure and replacing it in kind because of its current state of disrepair. Is there anything that would prevent them Cause in some of the original drawings, it mentioned turning it into a 3-season room for just enclosing it with screening or windows or whatever, but it doesn't become part of the living space. It's just a enclosed porch. Is that permissible or not permissible within the guidelines?
Same rules apply as far as enclosure. So whether it's enclosed for 3 seasons or
Okay.
4 seasons.
All right, so the in-kind here truly means in-kind,
Yes,
as it appears today, just repaired and rebuilt so that it's safe and usable.
Does that also prevent just screening around that area?
it does.
Just changing it in any way?
Right.
I'd be willing to make a motion.
Please do.
I make a motion that compliance with the ordinance does not unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for the permitted purpose.
I would agree. Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
And I think, do we
Roll
want to do
call.
the
Need,
roll call?
explanation or?
We will, and we've done it a
Should we do
couple
it
of different
later?
ways where we've gone through all of them and then come back
Sure.
to address them. We can do it now if it's at the top of your guys' mind, that probably wouldn't be a terrible idea. And then we also need to do the roll call for,
What do you, what's the
You
first
need,
one?
you need to call roll.
Do I call? Oh, I do call roll. I forgot. I'm sorry. Let me get everyone's name here in front of me. Is that on my little cheat sheet?
I don't believe it is.
On the agenda, it'll
okay.
list,
Let me get.
It's here.
it'll list everybody.
Agenda. Hold up. I'm sorry.
No, there's
Oh,
nothing,
you're
nothing to
fine.
be sorry about.
I wasn't prepared for that. Okay, I got one here. I believe. I don't know everyone's name on there.
You see where it says board members about halfway down, above
Yeah, there
onsite
it is.
inspections?
Yeah. That
The
is,
names are here.
oh,
This is
okay,
everybody here.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Richardson,
Denial.
myself, I would say yes to the motion. I guess that's what, it's kind of counterintuitive, but I would say yes to the motion. Stevenson,
Yes to the motion.
Abramson,
Yes.
and Ava.
Yes.
Is that Ava or?
Ava.
Ava, I'm sorry. Okay,
You wanna come up with the explanation for this now or do that at the end?
I could give you one now if you want.
Very good.
Okay, because there is room to expand this dwelling, if they're looking for more footage, they could expand it on the other side, the road side, within the building envelope of the property, and still comply with the 75-foot setback.
There's no reason for unnecessary hardship.
No, and also the dwelling is still usable, it functions for the purpose of which it was intended.
You also want to add? Uniqueness, unique property limitations, are there any unique property limitations?
Um, Are you ready to entertain a motion?
Yes.
I'd make the motion that the property does not contain unique physical property limitations that would prevent the compliance of the ordinance and deny the variance request does not satisfy criteria.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
We have to take a roll call.
Yeah,
Okay, Richardson,
Yes.
Leader, yes. Stevenson,
yes.
Abramson,
Yes.
Yes.
Explanation?
There is no unique properties that, property limitations that other properties on the lake don't have already. So if your properties are very similar, so they're not unique.
Yes, I agree with that.
Shall we proceed on? Protection of public interest.
I'll make a motion that the variance will harm the public interests in if granted. And we have a situation here where we have a non-conforming parcel lot building on this parcel. And by allowing further construction outside of the existing setback rules is just exacerbating the issue. And so I struggle with seeing how this doesn't dilute the intent of the ordinance by allowing a further expansion in an already non-conforming situation.
I hear a second.
I would, well, I'll comment on, is that part of your motion? No, that was a comment.
No, it's just my comment.
Yeah, I guess I would, I would agree with what Bill has to say on that. And on the outside, this truly looks like it wouldn't change the environment. The changes to this dwelling that they are proposing would not change the environmental impact. But there's more than one way to look at harm to the public. And one of them is that, the ordinance has an intent to it for the community and for the resources of the community, the shared benefit of everyone in that instance when you're looking at just the ordinance itself. I agree with what Bill has to say.
And once you get started down that road, where do you stop?
And there are many non-conforming structures that have been built over the decades.
Yes.
And now if we're gonna allow them to build structures inside of that setback, we just completely compromised the ordinance to the point where I don't know how you enforce anything regarding that ordinance in the future.
Right.
I would like to just say though out loud that in appearance, what's already there and what was intended to be added is the exact same space. And so I understand why it would feel like it wouldn't additionally harm. It's not going to additionally harm it, but it's already harming it. So but it makes sense why it feels like it doesn't additionally harm it.
Yeah, good point, Diane.
Thanks.
Any other comments? I hear a motion.
Well, Penny, did you officially second that motion
Oh,
from Bill?
he said it.
I
She
didn't
didn't.
second, but I will.
Bill-
I'll second.
You don't feel like you
Want
have
me
to. Bill did make a motion,
Yes.
so we need a.
Yes, I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Oh, I think we need a roll
Yeah.
call again. Okay, Richardson?
So I vote yes.
Yes.
To agree.
Motion.
Motion to agree. I agree. Yes.
That it harms. And I agree with the motion, yes. Stevenson?
Yes.
Abrahamson?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes,
Got it.
yes,
Okay.
close enough anyway.
Okay.
Okay, overall request, all criteria must be met in order for the variance to be granted. Need a motion or as to whether the application satisfies all three criteria.
I will make the motion to deny the variance in that it does not fulfill all three criteria.
I'll go ahead and second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do we need a
Opposed, yes.
roll call?
Roll call.
Okay, Richardson?
Yes.
Kenny? Yes. Diana?
Yes.
Evan?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Do you hear a motion to close this public hearing?
Move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That will call the second public hearing in order. Purpose of the hearing is to take testimony regarding the application of the Assembly of God of Wisconsin North Michigan District, Jason and Teresa Rose. Located in the southwest corner, southwest corner of the southwest quarter, and the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of section 18, part of partial D of the US. Number 118997S, lying along County Trunk Road E, fire number N1302, Town of Lynn, Wapaca County, Wisconsin. Parcel 12-18-34-9, for a grant of variance for the purpose of structural alteration to a dwelling within a required highway setback in the rural residential area district of approximately 2.6 acres. The secretary, please read the names of the people who were notified.
Will. Let's see, Kathy Nickel, Town Chair, Colleen McCoy, Town Clerk, Tim Stearns, Town Supervisor, Cindy Hardy, Town Supervisor, the Wisconsin Northern Michigan District Councils, the Assemblies of God, Jason and Tara Rhodey, is it Rhodey or?
Rhodey.
Rhodey, okay. Jason and Tara Rhodey, Department of Natural Resources, Susan Vanden Langenberg, Wapaca County Highway Commissioner Casey Byersdorf, Wapaca County Corporation Council, Assemblies of God, Spencer Lake Memorial Cemetery, Bailey Family Irrevocable Trust, Camp Hoopman LLC, David J. Zupik Family Trust, Drakowski Trust, D.S. Sosinski Revocable Trust, Eco Ag LLC, Fred E. and Renee R. Summers Revocable Trust, Gothic Investments LLC, Held Family Declaration of Trust, Jeffrey P. Brown Revocable Trust Agreement, John R. and Brenda K. Utsrath Irrevocable Trust, Karen A. Harris Survivors Trust, Kenneth and Mary E. Rapp Family Irrevocable Trust, Larry R. and Joan L. Anderson Joint Irrevocable Income Only Trust, Northland Properties LLC, Ronald Brooks Living Trust, Rosandich Living Trust, Ryan and Ellen Sexton Joint Revocable Living Trust, Storvik Lake House LLC, Thomas M. and Cheryl A. Germain Living Trust, Town of Dayton, Wayne M. and Patricia M. Becker Living Trust, Andrew B. Erdman, Andrew J. Kipke, Barbara J. Palacios, Brent and Sean Scott, Brent P. and Carolyn E. Flood, Bryn R. Fisher et al., Terry Eckstein, Catherine M. Reisinger and R. Yanachek, Chad C. and Laura L. Mayers, Chad J. and Lori L. Boyles, Charles A. and Sarah M. Thompson, Chelsea A. Hanson, Craig F. Bailey, Cynthia A. Braze, Daniel E. and Judith F. Lang, Daniel K. Trebatowski, Daniel W. and Vicky M. Thomack, David A. and Carmi Sue Buckley, Dean J. Fisher, Dennis C. and Judith A. Held, Donald J. and Mary H. Richels, Dustin M. and Sarah A. Binney, Dylan J. Teston and Ashley Schmidt, Edward A. and Tammy J. Pinkowski, Emil G. and Cynthia S. Ludwig, Eric and Ian M. Pinch, George J. Ovanen, George and Tracy Pionic, Glenn W. and Beverly A. Anderson, Gerald P. Wilson and Sharice Sickler, John D. and Paula J. Wilkie, John J. and Tamara F. Fink, Joyce L. Whitebroad, Katie A. Stobie, Kristen Y. Nelson et al., Kurt D. Engel, Laura A. and Thomas Nelson Sullivan, Lisa A. Johnson Hanson, Mark H. and Dorothy M. Storvold, Mark J. and Christy A. Drowsy, Mark Rasmussen et al., Mark W. and Jane M. Morrow, Martha J. Attell, Michael J. and Marlene T. Yergist, Michael L. Hoyer and Dana Owen, Nathan A. and Abigail Scott, P. John Whitseth and Susan J. Whitseth, Paul P. and Pamela S. Pinkowski, Phil E. Pearson Jr. and Sandra M. Pearson, Philip J. and Cindy R. Kirsten, Randy D. and Jean Kadoff, Robert and Rita Bruss, Robert R. and Patricia A. Arndt, Roger W. and Pamela F. Grove, Scott M. and Linda M. Bardwell, Scott M. and Barbara A. Plunkett, Stacy A. Schmidt, Stephen Ernst Bukic, Susan M. Gagey, Terrell E. Earl Lee Clark II, Thomas J. and Terry A. Anderson, Thomas J. Trudeau, Thomas J. and Mary Kay M. Trudeau, Travis J. Miller, and Wayne G. and Susan H. Kleinman.
Does anyone know of anybody's name within 300 feet of this property that has not been notified?
If the variance is approved, any privilege must be exercised within 6 months of the date of this decision by obtaining the necessary building, zoning, or other permits for the proposed construction. This construction must be completed within 2 years of the date of issuance of the permit.
The board has conducted an on-site inspection of the property. The board will now hear the application of the Assembly of God of Wisconsin and the Michigan District, Jason Terry Rhodes. The representative of the applicant, please come forward and be sworn in. Testify. Please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, that's what the truth.
I do.
Thank you. Please state the name and state your
Yes. Hi, I'm Jason Brody, and I'm here this morning to present my request for a variance to add modest gable dormers to my cottage at N 1302 County Highway E. I fully understand the importance of the zoning ordinance and the need to uphold its intent. I'm here today to respectfully ask for your consideration of the unique circumstances of this property and to demonstrate briefly how this request meets the 3 statutory criteria for granting a variance under Wisconsin law. Criterion 1, unnecessary hardship. The existing cottage was constructed over 60 years ago, well before the current setback regulations were in place. The upper floor of the cottage is used as a sleeping area, but it was built without modern considerations for natural light, ventilation, or climate control. Due to the original design, there's no heat or air vents in the upper floor, and no way to extend HVAC to the upper floor. It also has very limited natural light and poor air circulation, creating excessive heat in the summer and unsafe, uncomfortable conditions. The proposed gable dormers are a modest, architecturally consistent solution to make this space safe, usable, and habitable. Without them, the upper floor cannot be effectively or safely used, resulting in a hardship that is not self-created, but a product of the structure's age and original design. It's important to note that this request would not increase the building's footprint, would not increase the overall height, and would not move the structure any closer to Highway E. The hardship is both physical and practical in nature, and it arises from the property's existing lawful non-conforming status. Criterion 2, unique property limitations. This property is uniquely limited in several ways. First, it is a legally non-conforming structure due to its proximity to County Highway E, 69.7 feet from the center line, constructed long before current setback ordinances existed. Secondly, the limitations imposed by the original construction, including the inability to retrofit HVAC, limited egress, and inadequate ventilation, make modest dormers the only viable solution for continued safe residential use of the upper floor. No expansion or encroachment toward the highway is proposed. The dormers would be within the existing sidewalls and roofline plane, maintaining the character and historic footprint of the cottage. The property's limitations, coupled with the original construction and evolving safety standards, create a circumstance unique to this site. And criterion 3, no harm to public interests. The proposed dormers will have no impact on neighboring properties, will not affect the shoreline, and will not encroach on the highway or any public land. Additionally, the property parcel owner, the Wisconsin Northern Michigan District of the Assemblies of God, has provided their full support for the project. The proposed improvement would enhance the safety, usability, and appearance of the cottage and contribute positively to the character and value of the surrounding area. There's no evidence that this project would adversely affect the public interest or the intent of the zoning ordinance, which is primarily to manage density, traffic safety, and environmental protection, none of which are compromised by this proposal. So in conclusion, this variance request addresses a genuine, unnecessary hardship, arises from unique property limitations, and does not harm the public interest. I respectfully ask for your thoughtful consideration and approval of this modest improvement, which is essential for the continued safe and practical use of this historic cottage, while fully respecting the intent and spirit of the zoning ordinance. Thank you very much for your time and for considering this request. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Currently, the stairway that goes up, does that come up to the middle of where the peak roof would be?
It's right in the middle. It comes right up the middle of the cottage.
But as it lands, it's right underneath the peak? Like that?
It comes up to the, is it in, I don't know if it shows it in the,
Would this drawing be the one?
yeah, I have a bigger version of that. I don't wanna misspeak on
Oh,
that.
no, because that's in the dorm.
It is right in the mid, it is, so if you could see it, this particular drawing,
There.
this larger
Looking at
version,
it down just a touch.
yeah.
Oh,
And the one thing I'll note about this drawing, it doesn't show the back half of, and you probably noticed when you were there, there's a deck that's not on here obviously, and then after it was originally built, they put up it's a little dining room off of the back side of it, and it ties into the kind of the top back side of the roof line there. So you don't see any of that. Hence why we really need to put the dormers on the west facing side, because we can't tie in and go east off of that existing addition that's kind of already there on that side. So that the architectural drawing doesn't show that, but I wanted to call that out here. So did I answer your question though? Of where the stair,
Well,
we're not
if
moving
the
the
picture
stairs?
is, if the picture is correct, where the landing is just
Right in the middle of, yeah. and there's
to
a-
the right of where the peak is. That was my
Correct.
question.
And there's a tiny little hallway there. There's two little bedrooms off of that hallway.
So
that's
currently you
existing.
can stand up and turn and go.
You can stand
either
up
way.
in the middle as you get to
Yeah.
the top, right?
Yeah.
And then it quickly declines from there.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I was wondering.
Thank you.
The windows on the gable ends do not provide adequate ventilation.
The current windows do not, and we've tried putting window air units in. We continually trip breakers because of very old electric that is underpowered. So it is that we really in the summer, it gets so hot up there. There's no shade. It's directly in the sun during the summer currently up there. So we just resorted. We don't use it. Can't sleep people up there in the summer.
And you can't incorporate mini splits to provide air conditioning and heating? Because you don't need any internal ductwork or anything. They just get mounted to the exterior wall and they can independently heat and cool each of those rooms. And then they'd be wired right back to the original box, so you wouldn't require any internal wiring. So I use those on my cabin, for example.
No, we haven't. We've not explored that yet. No.
Any other questions?
The annex on the back side, is that usable living space upstairs or not?
No.
No.
Mhm.
It's not even shown on that picture.
No,
if I'm
because it's not.
understanding,
Yeah,
right?
it's not. They just tied it in to the roof line up there, but it's not usable at all.
And the addition of the dormers doesn't change the underlying heating and cooling problem. Because you're not upgrading the electrical into the building to give the ability to use window units for cooling or
No.
anything like that.
But it'll give us that window and that westerly breeze in the summer off the lake. Like we open our front door, we have a screen door there and we have windows on the lower level. And we get cool the lower level just by opening windows. So we know that westerly breeze off the lake, we would get sufficient, we get a lot of airflow upstairs if we could have west facing windows up there.
I'm struggling a little bit with a couple of thoughts. That isn't gonna change your heating issue up there in the winter.
Nope.
So in the
Nope.
winter, you still can't
The winter
use
is-
that
Correct.
spot unless you find an alternative heating method like a
Correct.
mini split or something of that
Yep.
sort. And the other thing is, one of the other concerns here was a lack of headspace well, I understand within the dormer, you would have more headspace, but how does it affect changing the headspace in the rest of the room?
It doesn't, and that isn't really part of our consideration. For us, it's really, summer is when we're there. We're there May through September. So that's when we're using the place. Winter, we're rarely ever up. And so to try to make it usable in the summer for us is our big consideration, frankly. Because of the way it was constructed, there isn't a way in the small footprint and as tiny as it is already, there's really no internal way to easily get cooling up there apart from some sort of other outside modification. And from a structurally and aesthetic perspective, I wonder why they didn't have those doors. I would have thought that Cape Cod style of a place, they should have put those in there all along. So it just seems like the most logical solution that solves several issues for us.
Any other comments or questions?
Are the dormers only the windows, or is it a full wall that's standing up there?
So they're windows, and there's a bit around them, just as the framing, the structure that they will be around.
But in between the two windows, that's still flat roof?
That's flat.
The same
Correct.
as what it would be. It's not a full wall?
No.
Okay.
No. It's literally, the dormers are just large enough to get the windows in.
Yeah.
And to try to match them aesthetically with the width of those lower level windows
Right.
is why the architect is suggesting the dimensions that are there.
Any other questions? Is there any further testimony in favor of this application? Please state your name and address.
For the secretary there. I need to raise my hand, sir?
Yes, you do.
Okay, my name is Kent Falstead. I am the director of Spencer Lake Christian Center.
Swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
You can have a seat.
Let me just start.
Yes. go
All
ahead.
right, so hey, thank you for letting me support a neighbor this morning. I wasn't, but a little over a year ago when I had the privilege of seeking a variance myself. And I do thank you for your aspect of implementing common sense on a safety project of putting, well, my $975,000 underground pedestrian tunnel is a little like 1.1 million now, but we have seen just, drastic improvement with the safety travels out there. But tying in with Jason, I think our camp basically started in 1946, which next year is the 80th anniversary. So a long list of my neighbors. I am an owner agent for the grounds, is why I'm here speaking on behalf. I personally, in my 6 years in this role, I have partnered with the community offices prior to projects. So prior to the tunnel, I called the chair of Town of Lind, is it Kathy Nickel? And just said, hey, I'm thinking about this. And then either Becky or Candace, the highway commissioner, all that, just wanting to be proactive and be a good neighbor out there. I don't know if some of you have been around for years. There's been things at Spencer Lake, but I think making the necessary improvements and this here, you're lucky that you're not 75 feet from the water, because that changes the whole dynamics. But so I believe, do you have a letter? There is like an HOA committee or LPMC committee that he goes to prior to coming to the county office, that I'm sure they've submitted something with that. I work with them, and I think something like this is a pretty simple enhancement that's not impacting anything. It is, you know, fixing a hardship for them. And as a employer of over 120 staff in the summer, his seasonal cottage provides me an additional lifeguard of the 15 lifeguards I need to run my beach. His daughter was one of our lifeguards this year. So it is, even for a seasonal thing, these families that come in do support our community in other ways. So thank his daughter for providing that safety at our beach. So thank you for the time he has, the support as the other aspect, the Memorial Park and all those other, that cemetery that I cover down on. So I think this is a great, someone's taken in a previously existing that didn't conform to standards years ago. Now we've changed the standards, but he's just making to me, it's a slight cosmetic improvement with air ventilation and stuff. I'm in for it 100%. Any questions for me? All right, thank you, folks.
Is there any testimony in opposition to the, excuse me, is there any further testimony in favor? Is there any testimony in favor of this application? Is there any further testimony in favor of this application? If not, is there any testimony in opposition to this application? Is there any testimony in opposition to this application? Is there any testimony in opposition to this application? If none, is there any additional testimony regarding this application? Is there any additional testimony regarding this application? Is there any additional testimony regarding this application? Are there any letters?
No, but I will say the initial approval that he was referring to was part of the application packet.
Okay. Staff report.
Okay, so as we have heard, the property owner is technically the Assemblies of God, Wisconsin and North Michigan District, but Jason and Tara Rohde are leaseholders and have that home there. The request is for the grant of variance for the addition of 2 gable dormers with windows within the level 2 highway setbacks. Again, level, we call all of our roads highways. Level 2 happens to be county roads. The existing zoning and uses on adjacent area, the property is zoned rural residential and utilized for residential purposes. We saw that there on the maps, you can see there are actually multiple houses. So when I tell you that the parcel is almost 2 acres in size, that's not just surrounding this individual home, but incorporates several of them. Surrounding properties are zoned rural residential, agriculture and woodland transition, and private recreation and forestry. The adjacent uses are for residential, recreational, including camping and institutional uses. The required level 2 highway setback is 75 feet from the highway center line and 42 feet from the right of way, whichever happens to be more restrictive. I think technically in this situation, the right of way setback happens to be a little more restrictive. That goes for both County Road E and County Road Double E, but we are quite a bit further from County Road Double E, so we don't have to worry about those setback requirements. These setbacks apply to any new structures, additions to structures, and the expansion of structures outside the existing 3-dimensional building envelope. So I kind of mentioned it on site when we're looking at the structure, even though we're existing too close to the roadway. They're allowed to keep, maintain, even rebuild what they have, but it has to stay within that 3-dimensional building envelope. So height, length, width, the whole 9 yards. The existing dwelling is 69.7 feet from the center line and 35.2 feet from the right of way of County Road E. County Road Double E highway setbacks are met. The addition of the dormers on the County Road E side of the dwelling would be considered an expansion or addition within the required setback area. Just as a note, setback averaging is not applicable on level 2 highways. We have seen it before where we do in some cases get to reduce setback based on neighbors being closer than the required setback as well. That does only apply to our local roads or our level 3 highways. Section 2.8 of chapter 34, our Waupaca County zoning ordinance, that is what dictates the setback requirement, level 2 highway being 75 from the center line, 42 from the right of way. And in addition, we also have our section 2.7 parents 1 through 3, that is what dictates which levels of the highways are which. So level 2 being those county highways. Section 14.4, parent 3, parent C of chapter 34, that is the board's review and decision criteria. Again, most of those are our 3 main criteria are what I'm going to go through with you now. First up is the unnecessary hardship. So for area variances, we're looking at compliance with the standards, unreasonably preventing the landowner from using the property for a permitted purpose, or with being unnecessarily burdensome. So again, we have those 2 different tracks that you can go down for this criteria. The hardship may not be self-created, and economic or financial hardship is not justification for granting the variance. The applicant states, in summary, that the dormers are necessary to allow for more natural light and better ventilation. The dormers will not increase the footprint or height of the current structure. When determining, and staff comments are, when determining whether unnecessary hardship exists, the property as a whole is considered rather than a portion of the parcel. The parcel is large enough to accommodate residential development, including additions to the structure without the need for a variance. I know that we discussed that previously as far as what makes sense to do, what makes sense, what is economically feasible, how to tie things in. That's not really necessarily up for the board to decide. It's just we're looking at the parcel as a whole. So compliance with the highway setback standard does not prevent the lessee from continuing to use the property for a permitted purpose. Our second criteria, unique property limitations, we're looking at things like steep slopes, wetlands, shape and size of the parcel preventing compliance, circumstances of the individual not being justification. So the applicant states that the cottage is legally non-conforming due to its proximity to Highway E, built prior to the current setback regulations. Dormers are the only viable way to bring more natural light, added ventilation, and expanded emergency egress to upstairs without further encroachment or expansion. Staff's comments, the shape and size of the parcel and the location of the dwelling in reference to the roadway are not unique compared to other properties in this area. Dormers or other structural modifications or additions could be placed on the opposite side of the dwelling in order to achieve similar results without the need for a variance. Again, whether that would be extremely expensive or whether that would require additional work on the existing structure, not necessarily up for the board to determine. Our third criteria is no harm to the public interest. The applicant states in part that the structure's footprint remains unchanged and the roof height will not be increased. There is no impact on stormwater, traffic, natural habitat, or shoreline aesthetics. Staff's comments are, a portion of the purpose and intent section of the zoning ordinance states to fix reasonable standards to which buildings and structures shall conform, to promote the safety and efficiency of the streets and highways. Modifications and expansions to the existing dwelling conflict with the ordinance standards for structural expansions by encouraging further encroachment and structures within the highway setback criteria. Harm to the public interest exists in that a grant of variance would result in an undermining of the purposes of the ordinance by reducing dimensional standards intended to support the purpose of the ordinance without all variance criteria being met. So I say this over and over again, pretty much with most of my criteria 3 standards. And really the basis of this is that we need all 3 criteria to be met. This one might be a little easier when looking at the intent, what is the intent of the highway setback as far as safety, as far as visual clearance and those types of things. But it is also looking at the overall intent, the overall purpose and intent, while also considering the other variance criteria needing to be met as well. So it is a staff's recommendation for denial in that all 3 criteria are not met. Any questions?
You care to rebut? Are there any questions the board wishes to ask?
I'm curious if you were to add a skylight that opens, is that also considered adding
We
to the
wouldn't
property?
not consider a window and one that opens to be considered an expansion.
So if that is a
Could be an
possible.
option.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Did the highway department provide any input on this setback?
No.
Any other questions or comments? If not, the board will now deliberate and decide the case without any testimony or comments. Unnecessary hardship.
I think we again fit into section A of our options. As to whether it the denial of the variance would prevent the owner from using his property for the permitted purpose. That to me is the question for that first criteria of hardship.
I agree. Any other comments?
I don't think it would create an unnecessary hardship for them to use it as it is. As it exists right now, I don't think that it would create an unnecessary hardship.
Hear that in the form of a motion?
I'll make a motion that compliance with the ordinance does not unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for the permitted purpose.
I'll second that.
Roll call?
A roll call here. Richardson,
Yes.
Peter, yes. Stevenson,
Yes.
Abrahamson,
Yes.
Ava,
Yes.
So yeses have it. Do you want to skip?
yeah, because that was that one.
Do you wanna come up with the explanation now or at the end?
I think we pretty much explained it.
He pretty much explained it.
So I had written down just a little bit, sorry, before I got sidetracked. No unnecessary hardship to utilize the existing structure as it currently is. Anything to add?
That's it.
Okay.
Unique property limitations. I don't think there's anything on the property that actually.
No, I don't think there's any unique property.
No, nothing on the property.
It's unfortunate that many of these cottages were built too close to the road.
Because there wasn't any.
There wasn't there wasn't the ordinance at that point. And many of them were, built without all of our modern amenities for comfort as well. And so they aren't as convenient as many other houses are.
Or efficient. Yeah.
And they were initially designed for just summer occupation.
Many times that's true. I don't see that this particular property has uniqueness to it, physical structures that are unique to the property. It's very similar to the other properties we saw down there.
Yeah.
There is extra room behind and around in the building envelope that allows for expansion of that building in other directions.
Do we hear that, you want to say that as a motion?
I can make the motion. The property does not contain unique physical property limitations that would prevent compliance with the ordinance.
Okay, I'll take a roll call.
Second.
We need a second.
Need a second
I'll
first?
second that.
I'll roll call.
Okay, Richardson,
Yes.
Penny, yes. Stevenson,
Yes.
Abrahamson,
Yes.
Ava,
Yes.
Protection of public interest.
Now, what I'm gonna suggest here, very similar to the one we just did earlier, that we have these standards in place. And yes, many of these structures were built at a time when the standards weren't there, but they've been put in place for very important reasons. And every time we create a variance for some really compelling reason, we're just weakening these rules and opening up for constant challenges to them. So I would say there is a harm to the public interest in that we would continue to erode the effectiveness of the ordinances that we have.
Yeah, I would also kind of agree that it's very similar to the last case that we listened to, where the footprint of the building is not being changed. And I don't think that their proposed project would affect the environment. But the ordinance is there for the safety. And as Diana pointed out in the last one, this one also is similar in that by being non-conforming to start with, it doesn't make it, the proposed changes doesn't make it worse, but they were already somewhat offending the ordinance.
Two wrongs don't make it right. Any other comments? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that granting the variance harms the public interest.
I'll go
Second.
ahead and second. Sorry,
Who wants it?
doesn't matter.
All right, Diana, you've got it.
Okay, roll call. Yes, Richardson.
Yes.
Penny, yes. Stevenson,
Yes.
Abrahams,
Yes.
Ava.
Yes.
Over the overall request, we need a motion as to whether or not the applicant satisfies all three criteria. Make the motion that does not satisfy all three.
I'll make a motion that the variance request does not satisfy the statutory 3 requirements.
I'll second. Oh,
Yep, and so that means we are proposing that the variance be denied.
Yes.
I just want everyone to be clear with what the motion is about. Richardson,
yes.
Leader, yes. Stevenson,
Yes.
Abrahamson,
Yes.
Ava.
Yes.
Okay, before we close that, I'm just gonna run through a couple of things I've jotted down for our explanations on our decision. Number 2, unique property limitations. There was a notation that the physical structure is unique, but not the property. Also that the building envelope allows for expansion of the dwelling while meeting the setbacks. Anything to add to that one? And then the third criteria, I cannot put it as nicely as you did there, Bill, because it was very good. But the standards are in place for an important reason or important reasons. I'll take a look at the verbiage on the recording and clean that up nicely. But then granting of a variance results in weakening the rules and opening challenges to the rules. Is there
I
anything?
think this is the last one. It's already non-conforming, and then allowing further construction or whatever in a non-conforming area is just causing us to really
Erode.
erode our ordinances to the point where they're not gonna be meaningful.
Very good, thank you.
Anything else?
I think that's all.
Is there a motion to close this public hearing?
Do we have to talk about anything else?
Yes, so we'll close the public hearing and then we have
Also
additional
move.
business.
Okay.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Discussion and possible action.
Okay, let's take a look here. Discuss board organization. So unfortunately, a rather sad topic to discuss, and we had mentioned this when we first started our on-sites. Gary Marks has passed away. He had been on the board for a number of years. We greatly appreciated his time and efforts that he put in, and in addition, was also very involved in his township, fire department, and a number of things. So he's going to be very deeply missed by lots of folks. Unfortunately, that puts the board in a position to do a couple of things. Number one, we do need to find a fifth member. I know that in our last conversations, Michelle and Bill were wanting to stay alternates. We certainly will offer the invite to become a full-time member, but I'm guessing since we just hashed that out, we'll look for another full-time member. But what that also does is Gary was our vice chair. The vice chair basically steps in the instance that Art is unavailable. Now, typically speaking, I'm going to schedule a meeting when Art is available. It's only in those rare instances where if Art comes down with the flu and just can't make it in or something like that. But we are needing to assign a vice chair. I'm gonna throw this out here, Penny, you've been on the board for a bit. Diana and Evan are still relatively new. That's not to say that they couldn't step up and do it either, but we'll have to leave it up to you guys as far as, do we have to make a motion? Make a motion to assign, yeah, thank you, that was the right term, for vice chair, so.
Anyway, you'd be willing to do it?
I would like to ask the others if they would be willing.
I can't, I'm an alternate.
That was quick.
You are saying it doesn't matter to me. You can do that.
And again, we are always here to help, as far
They
as
do an
running the
excellent job,
meeting.
everybody
It's all printed out, and also, you know, I have a lot of experience in 4-H and both countywide leadership, project leadership, and leadership as a local club. So like all of this makes sense to me.
Very good.
So I'm not too concerned about it.
We wanna make that official? Do we
Yes.
need
And
to-
keep Penny as secretary?
Yes. Yeah, that would have been the other trouble, is that if you
Yeah,
would
that
go
was
into the
right.
vice
That's
chair,
somebody else has
somebody
to
has
do
to be
that.
secretary anyways. All right, so do we need to
Actually, I think the vice chair does less than the secretary.
Yeah, technically.
Yes, yes. Notice how I slipped
Up-
right in there.
Up until they don't.
Yeah.
Then they do a lot.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Diana, for stepping up in that position. We will work on trying to gather another member for us. Luckily, kind of then tying into our next meeting or our next point of discussion is discuss future meetings. I don't currently have any applications in waiting.
That's the first
Oh,
time
we
I've
do
heard
need
you
a
say
motion.
that.
Okay, sorry, I need to back up. We do need an official motion to make Diana the vice chair.
Oh.
All right, Bill,
I'll
you've got
second
that, and Penny the second.
All those in favor?
Do we need a roll call?
Roll call.
Roll call, all right.
Richardson,
Yes.
Ava,
Yes.
Leader,
yes,
Yes.
Diana, Evan.
Yes,
all right, thank
It
you.
would be bad if you voted no.
That's not a good start.
Okay, so yeah, as of right now, we don't have anything, that's kind of pending, but then of course it can flip tomorrow, so I won't say anything, but we are heading into the end of the season, so timing will be of the essence. We have gone into November certainly with meetings before, but we'll just have to keep our eyes and ears open, and we'll certainly be in contact with you guys if anything pops up. Any questions? Evan, Diana, how did today go?
Yeah, thank you guys,
Yes,
first off.
thank you very much for
You guys did a
stepping
great
up.
job.
just trying to get the feel for it a little more.
Yeah.
I'll wait till it's adjourned for my next question.
So that anybody we would want to put on board has to come from a different township than we have represented here.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I
Okay.
didn't realize that was.
He was up in Scandinavia, Gary Marks was up in Scandinavia, so that does open up quite a few
Sure.
more opportunities
Sure.
in that northwest
Yeah.
or west,
Right.
because we had Farmington as well, before Jack Penny left, so kind of this western side and northern area, that's quite a bit of an area, so we'll take a gander and see. And we usually just send out some feelers to some folks and get an idea. Of course, we had a couple of recommendations as well. So if you guys know of anybody who you feel would be a good fit, let us know and certainly we'll reach out. Okay. I think that's it for our discussion and possible action. Last would be adjournment.
Do you hear a motion to adjourn? Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are we disconnected?
I'm disconnected here. Ryan's still.
Yeah, hang on one second.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here and being willing